cause I'm very nice. I practice that every night to get on this herd mic. You know I'm alert, right? You know that it ain't nothing to serve, right? And I be killing tracks to the earth like my birthright. I'm solid like sound money and you fools sound.
Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. This is your host, MagMongoSlade. So we're going to talk about NXT Takeover 36, which is quite honestly one of the best NXT Takeover shows, for sure. And I definitely could have used a bigger crowd. And the last two matches were controversial, but I think overall the show ruled. Okay. Pre-show, Trey Baxter essentially gets squashed by Ridge Holland. I know some people didn't like that. It is what it is. Moving on very fast. LA Knight versus Cameron Grimes for the $1 Million Championship. This was fun. Cameron Grimes comes out in his butler suit. He throws it in the trash. The $1 Million trash, by the way, because it has the $1 Million sign on it. So that means it's Ted DiBiase's personal garbage can, which he threw it in the trash. I can't help but think that if LA Knight had come to WWE 5 or 6 years ago, and I think I heard some stuff about, maybe he had tried out and he didn't make it. But if he'd come to WWE 5 or 6 years ago, I think he would be a star now. Like he legit has charisma. He can talk. He has presence. He's in great shape. The only thing is the age. That's the only thing he got, man. If we could turn a blind eye to how old people are, him and Robert Roode would be perfect to be solid top guys. I don't know, like top, tippy top, like Roman, no. But like high level Intercontinental champions, yeah. They could have been great. But this match was really awesome. And it came full circle as Ted DiBiase got some of his stuff back, like all of the bumps he took earlier. He was able to inflict some damage on LA Knight in this match. The Irish whip into the drop kick, I thought that was pretty sweet because it's technically not illegal. Even though he's not supposed to put his hands on any performer, he wasn't hurting the performer. So he just propelled them. So technically, I don't know if that's illegal or not. In any event, this match ruled. This cave-in that LA Knight got caught with is probably the best looking cave-in Cameron Grimes ever done. And that move is so easy to botch because you're jumping up and putting your both feet on an opponent's chest. So it has to be well timed. So this looked really good. So Cameron Grimes finally achieved his dream, and they're going to have a celebration on Tuesday. Dakota Kai versus Raquel Gonzalez. This was the swan song for Dakota Kai because Raquel Gonzalez wins. And it's clear that Dakota Kai put this match together because how smooth it was, and because it really maximized her, what she was really doing, and how she could combat somebody the size of Raquel Gonzalez. And I really enjoyed this. This is probably my favorite Dakota Kai match. There was one particular spot where Raquel is lifting Dakota Kai she's inside the ring. Dakota Kai is outside the ring. She reaches over the top rope to pull Dakota Kai on the ring apron. She tries to, lift her over the rope and throw her. Dakota counters it into an arm drag, and then from that into an arm bar. That was fucking awesome. There was a couple of ugly bumps. There was an ugly bump from the stun gun that she did. Raquel Gonzalez flipped her up like a power bomb, but kind of threw her over the ropes, and she bounced because I think she might have been, just a little too light. She got to hit that damn ramp a little hard. But the finish, I really like the finish. She tries to go for the running kick while Raquel Gonzalez is on the top rope. And Raquel catches her foot and lifts her up from the Chingoa bomb from the second rope. It was brutal. Now, of course, completely unnecessary for somebody to decide it's Dakota Kai, but it was great. It looked awesome. And Raquel Gonzalez wins. Dakota Kai was the fan favorite, but I think that she did a good job of getting Raquel over. I still think Dakota Kai should work craftier. I mean, just being nasty. Like, I would have liked for her to do some more like eye gouging and stuff like that. I don't think, WWE kind of, wrestling has gone away from some of the classic heel stuff. Like when you see Sheamus do like the Irish smile, like that used to be kind of stuff you used to see all the time in wrestling. Like guys running eyeballs across the top rope and eye poking in order to get an advantage, that kind of, hit, thrust in the throat, that kind of stuff, that would nullify the size difference. Like, it would make perfect sense for you to do that in a fight, especially when you're the heel, for you to eye gouge, because these are natural human weaknesses. Everybody has eyes, even if they can't use them, but it's especially a weakness if you can use them. And when I say can't use them, I mean if you're blind. Like, you spraying stuff in the eyes of a blind person, it's still going to be irritating. It's not blocking their vision, but it's an irritant. In this situation, Raquel was trying to use superior technique, and it failed. But I thought it was really good. So at the end, Kaylee Ray, former NXT UK Women's Champion, comes out there to confront Raquel Gonzalez. So we already got our plan. Now that Dakota is apparently out, then we got Kaylee Ray coming in. This is good. This is really good for Raquel. She needs that next level. And Kaylee Ray, who was champion for like 600 days or some nonsense like that in NXT UK, might be a good teacher. I think she also has like a significant amount of experience, so she might be able to teach Raquel Gonzalez some stuff. It ought to be really fun. So if this is the end of Dakota Kai's run in NXT, she had a solid run. She was there for I think 3 or 4 years. The most meaningful thing she's ever done is, outside of betraying Raquel Gonzalez, was betraying Tegan Nox. She was pretty much generic up to that point. I'm very interested in how she will be used on the main roster. She is one of the people, like Alexa Bliss, like Bianca Belair, like Lacey Evans, that was not Lacey Evans, I shouldn't say. It may be Mia Yim, but she hasn't been around much either. That, not succeeding in NXT as far as winning the NXT Women's title, it doesn't mean that you won't be, used on the main roster. So there's no guarantee her main roster success is going to be. But if this is the end of the era of Dakota Kai, I think she did okay. I think that she could have done better. But it's just the way the cookie crumbled. Like, when it's time to really get into a hardcore feud, it wasn't really much there. But I did enjoy her run with Raquel Gonzalez, and the heel turn on Tegan Nox was really good too. So she had a decent run. The next match was the match of the year. This match was rated R. I think you need a permission slip to watch Walter. You have to put it in all caps. All caps. Put some respect on that man's name. Walter versus Ilya Draganov. This match was tremendous. Tremendous. The physicality of it, the psychology of it. You had Ilya Draganov utilizing limbs to keep Walter in place. Like, he would grab something. Usually it was a headlock, just to keep Walter, just to control him, because he's so big. And he figured, it's also to nullify space. When you're creating space or you're trying to nullify space, Walter's chops require for him to have space in between you and him. So the Dragunov philosophy was to, the strategy was to get close so Walter can't chop you. And that would, that's what the headlocks were all about. And the attempts at the arm bars and the, grabbing them at the legs and stuff like that. It wasn't just to take him down. It was also to nullify Walter's chief weapon, which is the chops. This was tremendous. And Dragunov's intensity, he is Mr. Intensity. Like, I think if he was a normal wrestler, being that same size, it would be easy to dismiss him. But with that intensity, he's like a little dragon, like, he's ferocious. He's a peak human male, just in a small body. He's a tough motherfucker, man. Like, you see his chest. Walter beat the dog shit out of this guy. And he just kept coming. And it was like that dogged intensity, that relentlessness. This is peak pro wrestling. All the bullshit that people talk about, sports entertainment and all that garbage, all that stuff. This is peak pro wrestling. Peak. This is You know, it's what, you know, the old New Japan or All Japan stuff was like. You know, Inoki would have loved this. You know, it was snug. There was nothing looked weak. Nothing looked phony. Nothing looked fake. It looked like two guys fighting. Two guys fighting. Two intense guys fighting. There was, you know, it was tremendous. It's a classic. It's match of the year. Is it better than their previous match? I don't think so. The match ends with Dragunov losing control, throwing a bunch of elbows into Walter's head, and then grabbing him in a chokehold, and it's just yanking at his head, and Walter taps out. And it tells the story that they've been telling the whole night. You know, that Dragunov was going to doggedly choke out Walter. You know, he was going to smother Walter. And then as he started to lose control, as the match started to progress, and that's been the story. If you haven't been watching NXT UK, you probably haven't noticed it. But that was always, you know, Dragunov's thing. After his match with Walter, he had like PTSD. Like when things got hard, he's like snapped and would lose control. And that's really what took place here, is he lost control and he ended up winning. You know, unlike before where he would lose control, like the elbows, and he, you know, end up probably getting disqualified or something like that. It was a controlled rage. I loved it. This was tremendous. This was tremendous shit. You know, everybody needs to watch this. Everybody needs to see this. Kyle O'Reilly versus Adam Cole. Now, this match was controversial for me and for the CWC. Here's why it was controversial for the CWC. The finish. Kyle O'Reilly wins the match 2 falls to 1. The finish is Adam Cole handcuffs Kyle O'Reilly to the top rope while they're in the cage. He is trash talking, super kicks him once, continues trash talking, tries to super kick him again. Kyle O'Reilly catches the foot, put him in a heel hook with one arm. Kyle taps out Cole. So Cole loses. The crowd chants bullshit. There's a light bullshit chant, but you can hear it. And people were booing Kyle all night. They don't like him. They don't like Kyle O'Reilly. So, there's not much you can do. You know, Kyle was going to win regardless of whether Cole was going to Raw or AEW or whatever. And yes, Cole did use lockjaw in this match. I thought it was pretty cool. I don't mind when guys use like their women's or their girlfriends' moves or anything like that. I just feel like, okay, you know, it was nice. The story throughout the match of, you know, Cole being just like overconfident, I think is the story that they were telling throughout the match, is that Cole was insane and overconfident. He was very violent and overconfident. He lost the first fall very quickly because he thought he could hit the Panama Sunrise in like 2 minutes into the match, and he lost. The second fall, he ended up winning because he caused the rib injury, and with the chairs and the kendo sticks and everything, he was able to do a lot of damage very fast. But the third fall, again, he got overconfident. So here's why this match was controversial to me. The previous match, we saw Walter and Dragunov, open hand, smack, and they're just tearing each other apart. I mean, Walter is crashing into Ilya Dragunov. He's taking years off this man's life with his bare hands. You have this match where these guys are just super kicking each other in the face, pump kicking each other in the face at the same time. So you have this ultra realistic match with Walter and Dragunov. And then you go to the video game match where these two guys are punching each other in the head with chains and no selling it. So that, I was just kind of like, I know it's a nitpick, but it's impossible to not to see, right? It's impossible to be like, I literally just sat here and watched Walter basically have like blades for arms and just rip this man to shreds. And it looked good, and it looked tight, and it looked, sweet. Now in this match, these guys have weapons, but it's all thigh slapping It's all fast paced, little selling. We're moving on from big things very fast. You know, there was a Panama Sunrise from the top of the rope or something like that, and that did nothing. It was just kind of like, it was a typical Adam Cole match. I think more people were more interested in the outside the ring stuff. About is he staying or is he going? What's going on with his contract and all that shit? I don't care about that stuff. But I knew right after Walter and Dragunov went off that these guys were going to have a problem. It was going to be very, very difficult to follow Walter and Dragunov. And if this match had come before that, I might have had a better review for it. But it was afterwards. And it was directly afterwards. There was no buffer in between. It was directly afterwards. So it's impossible to not see the difference when you look at somebody's physical body with open hands and you got these two guys punching each other in the head with steel chains. I'm sorry. It's just main event, Karrion Kross versus Samoa Joe. This match was, obviously people don't like Kross. You know, they were heckling him all night. But the thing about it that really kind of made me sad is that Joe was so blown up. It was clear that Joe was having a hard time. He was so blown up. They say he hadn't had a match in a year. It was clear. It was very clear that he was probably not physically ready, you know, and they did what they could. You know, he took some ugly bumps, but the crowd was, you know, insistent on not participating but heckling, chanting for Scarlett, chanting for Hardy, all this silly mark shit that, you know, spreads across the internet. It's always been the problem with NXT. You know, it's crazy. Joe wins with the Muscle Buster. So now, you know, going into the new NXT, you have Samoa Joe, the only 3-time NXT champion. Match was solid. Joe was able to do a lot of the stuff that he used to do. He just did it slowly. And this match wasn't long, you know. So, I'm really glad that Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole wasn't long, because, you know, I could see, you know, them going 40 minutes or something like that, and I would have been very, very, very upset. I think this match probably went a little over 20. I know Dragunov and Walter went 20, so maybe that got up around the same thing, but I think Kross and Joe probably only went like 12 to 15 minutes. I'm doing this on my internal clock, so I could be completely wrong. But obviously Kross is on Raw already, so this doesn't mean anything for him. He just has to now start his whole career essentially over again. And he had to get out of NXT anyway. You know, NXT is toxic, you know, as far as he is concerned. That audience has completely turned against him. And not in a way that is working, but in a shoot way. They don't like him. And it's depressing, because it's weird. And this match was depressing, period, because it wasn't fun. You know, like, from the crowd heckling and doing some stupid shit to Joe barely being able to get his stuff in, barely able to defend himself in some cases. It was tough. You know, I'm glad Joe made it. Joe winning was probably the right idea, but I don't think it's right for him to defend it. I think he should probably give the title up and say, you know, hey, it's a new NXT. I'm going to, you know, let's let some of the young boys take a shot. Because I'm really, you know, thinking about who could be next for him. And I'm thinking maybe LA Knight. Maybe LA Knight would be the guy to step up to wrestle Samoa Joe, and he could take the belt from him. My thought process, of course, when I did my review, my predictions rather, is I suggested that Walter just win both belts and have the NXT title and the NXT UK belt, but they took the NXT UK belt from him. But I'm cool with it. You know, I'm cool with Joe winning. I'll never be mad at Samoa Joe. He's one of my favorite wrestlers. He always has been. But, you know, his weight has always been an issue, and now he's been off a year, and he's up there in age. He's like over the age of 40. So I don't think he should be like the flagship champion. I like him as the guy who took the belt from Cross, but I don't see him being champion 5 or 6 months. You know, hopefully Joe will get his win back. You know, he can work more often and get his win back, and, you know, he'll go back to being at least somewhat of the Samoa Joe we remember. And hopefully, you know, this was the swan song for a lot of people. You know, Cross, Cole, Dakota Kai, you know, there's a lot of people leaving. So this was a watershed NXT, because a lot of these people have been around for a long time. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel, donate to the channel. Thank you guys, and I'll talk to you guys later.
Tell me what's worse than learning all that you led to believe was all horse crap. They distort, so question as